What's up everybody? Sean here with You Outdoors, and today I'm going to show you my favorite things to propagate out of my garden or from items bought from the store. This stuff is so easy, anybody can do it. It is so easy. It's as simple as taking some cuttings and putting it in a cup of water. Alright, so my favorite thing to propagate, and probably the easiest thing in the world to propagate, is herbs. Specifically, rosemary. This stuff is so easy. All you have to do is go out, find yourself a bush. Could be from someone's garden, a friend, family member. Get yourself some cuttings, strip away about half of the leaves, and then just put it in water, and within a week, you're already developing roots. Another easy thing is basil. Again, get yourself a little cutting, put it in some water, and it will start rooting. Basil, oregano, mint, all the herbs basically you can propagate by just putting in a cup of water. The next easiest thing that I've found in my garden is hibiscus and roselle. This is cranberry hibiscus, and it's as simple as taking some cuttings, stripping away the leaves, which I keep for my salads, and then putting it in water. A couple weeks later, a week or two, you have roots. Same with roselle, very simple, very easy. And roselle, you can even just pop the cuttings in some moist soil, keep it moist. That's worked. I've had no problems doing that. So both methods, very easy. I'm sure the cranberry roselle is the same, although I've never put it in soil before, but it seems very simple. Another easy thing from my garden is your Okinawa and longevity spinach varieties. Again, take yourself some cuttings, save the leaves for your salads or soups or whatever you would use it for, and put it in water, guys. It's so easy. I mean, the roots start developing. Then once it's rooted, you can put it in some soil and it'll grow. I would assume that taking the cuttings and putting them directly in the ground, in fact, that has worked for me. I've taken cuttings of my longevity spinach and just stuck it right back in the garden bed where the main plant is, and I've had them root and start growing again. It is so simple. The last two I saved are store-bought items. My favorite thing and the easiest thing is pineapple. This stuff is so simple to propagate. You would just take your top off, peel back some of these leaves, and expose the little root nodes that are on there, and put it in water. Keep the water clean. Keep rotating the water in and out as the water becomes a little, slimy and nasty. Keep some fresh water in there so that the plant doesn't go rotten. I actually chose this one when I was looking at it at the store because I peeled back some of these leaves here to see if there were already some root nodes on here, and I found a few. I'll just go ahead and rip the top off and we'll see if we can find any. So snap off the top, and then what you're gonna want to do is start ripping some of these bottom layers of leaves off. Yep, so here are some of the roots that I was talking about. So I don't know if you guys can see that, hopefully you can, but there are little root nodes popping out of there. That's what you want. And all you're gonna do is get yourself a glass of water. It can be solo cup. I prefer glass so I can see my roots forming, but it doesn't really matter, guys. See all those roots on there? I just got myself a little glass of water here. I'm using a clear glass so that you guys can see, and the top of the pineapple, and just put it in there so that it is submerged like so. And then within about a week or two, those roots are going to get bigger and bigger, and you'll have a pineapple plant. And then you pop it in the ground, put it in a pot. They're very easy to grow in pots. They don't get very large, and they're a nice addition to your garden. Another store-bought item that is very, very simple is Ginger. Ginger is one of the easiest things to propagate. Again, just put it in some water, find yourself a little cutting. And I don't know if you guys can see that, but there are little roots. This has been in water for about a week. And the thing about ginger too is you don't have to do it this way. You can just plant it in the ground and it will pop up. I've had plenty of volunteers of the ginger come out of my compost, and it's popping up all over the place. All right, so once you have a nice set of roots on all of your items that you're propagating, the next step is to plant them in some soil or put them in your garden. So I'm going to start with this Roselle right here. So you can see it's got a nice little root system going on. And pop them in here. Make sure he's nice and happy. Give him some water. And you'll have a pretty little Roselle plant here soon. Alright, up next we got some longevity and Okinawa spinach. You can see I just put this one in not too long ago. It's got a little root, so I'm gonna let him keep cooking for another week. But this Okinawa spinach is definitely ready, so put him in a pot or right in your garden. Give him some water. Put all these in a shaded area because you don't want to shock them too quick or scorch them in direct sunlight. Up next is going to be some Cranberry Hibiscus, false Roselle. Got lots of nice roots there. Put them in a pot. This one's not ready yet. I just put this in about, I don't know, a week ago. So this one needs to cook a little bit longer. But you see how I stripped most of the leaves off? And it's actually growing new leaves, so. But you want most of the energy to go into roots. So that's why I strip all the leaves off. You don't want it trying to grow new leaves or photosynthesize or any of that. You want new roots. So I'll show you what I do before I put it in the water. Alright, so we got that. Alright, so I'm going to put all my freshly propagated plants over here. This is a nice shaded spot for everything. Let me make some room here. So this right here was some Roselle that I had extra cuttings and I just stuck in some dirt and they all came here. So I put 3 cuttings in here. So I need to separate all 3 of these, get their own pots going, and I'll have 3 new Roselle plants and it's looking gorgeous. You can see I have propagated Okinawa, that's some longevity, spinach, some more spinach back there, and actually here's a volunteer ginger that I just started to root, and I put it in this here with this eggplant. So again, the ginger just pops up too out of my compost volunteer wise. Again, this is my Okinawa and longevity spinach that I propagated. So these came from cuttings and they're looking great right now. So easy to do, guys. This is my row of ginger. All of these were grown by just doing what I showed you guys, taking a piece of ginger, putting it in some water, and growing some roots, and then I transplanted them into pots, let those grow for a little bit, and boom, got some ginger plants. And if you throw away your ginger in your compost, you're probably going to get little volunteers like this guy here underneath my fig tree. And another one underneath the other fig tree. Little volunteer gingers that are popping up. All right, and I'm gonna show you how to get yourself some cuttings. It's so hard and difficult, scientifically proven. There's only one way to do this. So this is some Okinawa spinach. This looks like a perfect example of what I want. So I'm gonna cut this right down here by the base. Boop. And then I'll strip all the bottom leaves off because I need some stuff for my salads, and put it in the water. So there's that, and here's a nice longevity spinach cutting I can get. So this one right here was one I just put this cutting in the ground. It was getting too long, and sure enough, no problemo, came up. All right, this looks like the best longevity spinach cutting. Well, it doesn't really matter, guys. I was joking about the whole science aspect of this, but usually if you cut it on the stem here, like I cut this Okinawa, there's gonna be a new growth somewhere around here. So I'm just gonna cut this down here. Right about, yeah, there we go. So there's some fresh spinach for my salads. This Roselle plant is getting out of control. I'm gonna take a cutting from this since it's popping out into the yard. Boop. And we'll strip those leaves. And while I'm doing this, I'm gonna try a new one. I got my little katuk plant here that's starting to lean over. So I'm gonna take a cutting from him. I need to probably stake him up because he's leaning over pretty good. But I'm gonna take one of these because I've heard katuk is pretty easy to propagate. So we'll try it. We'll see what happens. So katuk, longevity and Okinawa spinach, and some Roselle. That looks like a really good salad right there. All right, one more bonus. This is not an edible, but it is a food forest machine. This stuff is Mexican sunflower, and it is used as a chop and drop. As you can see, I just chopped these down about 2 weeks ago, and it's already grown like crazy. But again, this is another thing that is so easy to propagate. And all you got to do is find any of these branches that have these little black nodules, these little black roots, and you would take that cutting as close to the base as possible and then put it in a pot. Right there. Take that cutting. So as you guys can see there, this is Mexican sunflower cutting. A couple little roots. Stick that in a pot, you'll be good to go. So this is a half dozen that I started last week, and you can see most of them have already started growing leaves. So that's a good sign. That means they probably rooted. These two here don't look like they've done anything. So let's pull him up and see what's going on there. No roots. So this one's probably a dud. I'm gonna leave this guy in. There's a little bit of green form in there, but I'm gonna replace it with this guy right here. So hopefully this guy grows. Again, I kind of strip away most of the leaves so it can concentrate on root production. And this is just my crappy, sandy, junky soil that I'm growing this stuff in. And that's it. Good chop and drop material for your food forest. Very good for bananas. Mexican sunflower has a lot of potassium, which bananas like. So here's one of my cuttings. This stuff grows like a weed very fast. I'm talking feet per month. per month. That's a lot of compost material. Alright, this is how I prep my cuttings. Just pull off all the leaves, eat those later, and I leave just the tips. And boom, put in the water. Some longevity spinach here. Bing, bing, bing. I take off most of the large leaves and just leave a few of the smaller ones. And the Okinawa and the longevity spinach takes about 2 weeks until the roots get long enough to plant. Alright, the Roselle, all these bottom leaves come off. And all the large leaves. And I just leave just a few at the top. And water. Boom. Alright, let's try the katuk. So I'm going to strip off all these leaves. This stuff's so good. It's also known as the peanut butter plant. Very good, very healthy green. Tastes really delicious. I've only ever eaten it raw in my salads, but super good. So again, I'm gonna leave just the top few leaves, like so, and I'll put that right in there. Perfect. This will go in the compost, and we'll see what happens. I'm gonna go wash these greens. That'll be for my delicious mixed green salad tonight. And as always, guys, appreciate it. Thank you for watching. If you're new to the channel, please give me a like, give me a subscribe. Let me know in the comments what you guys are propagating, what you guys think is the easiest. And I'll keep you updated on this katuk. See how this does in the water. I've heard you can just stick that in a pot and it'll start rooting. So it's worth a try. The next adventure I'm going to do some air layering on my mulberry tree, because I'm going to prune that before winter at some point. But I'm going to try some air layering, see if I can propagate that. I propagated mulberry before. Check out my other video on that. It's pretty simple to do and pretty effective. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see ya on the next episode. Later.